getting kind of concerned. But then somebody showed up in the chat, so.
All right. Good morning. I'm going to have to go straight to Pit Danny with that 15-yard penalty for use of props. But I will say, funny. In all fairness, the use of props thing, we're probably not going to get to that part of the debate until tomorrow when we do part 2. But hey, here we are. It's Monday morning. It's normally Me More Monday. We're gonna cover the debate instead, because this debate between Walker and Warnock, not only was it just an absolute ass pounding for Warnock, the thing about this particular race is the Walker Warnock debate the Walker Warnock race rather, could actually be the single most consequential race on the ticket this November, because it's one place where there is a real significant chance for the balance of power to shift in the Senate.
Yeah.
Like, we're all super interested in how how Brian Kemp's bid against the serial vote fraudster and professional Kool-Aid Man activist Stacey Abrams turns out. But
yeah,
we're pretty sure we know how that one's going to go.
Well, look, let's say good morning to some people. There's somebody in the chat that looks like he's gonna pee his pants if we don't say hello. So anyhow, oh wait, I don't have the thing.
You don't have control. There you go.
Okay, so James Wilbanks was first. Good morning, and then of course Pit Danny.
First blood.
Yep, and then Mazizer. I don't. Twitch names they're always fun. Let's see, Pancho Ramirez.
I think it's Eye Sleeper.
And then you got the Fit Life with Danielle. We get a new episode of that today, by the way. So, if you don't have discovered,
I haven't had a chance to go back and watch her new one from last week yet.
You had a whole week. It's 20 minutes of your life.
I've been busy.
And Danny works out wearing tight clothes. Dude, there's bonuses here.
Well, I went drinking in a skirt. What's your point?
Yeah, Saturday.
No, Sunday. Yeah, oh yeah, Saturday. It was Saturday.
Anyhow,
I did a lot of nothing yesterday.
And then let's see, DS is here. And let's see. And then David Bethay. So normally on Me More Monday we do memes. Chris, can we do one meme? Just one. Just one. It's Me More Monday.
Yeah, I'll give you one. He does look like he's about to shit himself because...
Yeah. Been 5 whole minutes and you haven't asked for $1 billion in aid.
Yo, I actually had a pretty good conversation with Chief Donald McLaren of the Clan McLaren this weekend about the whole Russia thing, and he made some interesting points coming from a British position. He made some very interesting points about the good that Zelensky has done since the beginning of this whole fiasco. As we've said over and over on this show, there are no good guys in this. But the fact is, and Donald's dead right on this, Zelensky has actually been a powerfully effective morale leader for the Ukraine. He is quite good at the morale piece.
Well, I mean, he's used to being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So Messer said that we're mono streaming on Twitch instead of bi-directional streaming. Is this a thing?
I don't even know what he's talking about. We're poly streaming to about a dozen different platforms. So, if I'm being fair, Twitch is mostly a video game platform. I just don't pay a whole lot of attention to our Twitch presence. So not entirely sure what you're talking about there.
Well, hold on. Let's buy the audience a glass of wine first before we get in hard and deep.
Well,
did you have a good weekend?
I did indeed.
You drank scotch in a skirt.
I did. I went to the Highland Games this weekend. Not only did we get to watch grown-ass men in skirts throw telephone poles competitively, which is amazing, because the whole pool... Okay, so all of the games that are played at the Highland Games are about one thing and one thing only: killing the English. You flip the telephone pole over so that it lands against the castle wall, and then your little skinny Scot with a pair of axes runs up the primitive ladder over the wall and murders his way to the front gate to let the big scary guy in. And then, well, everybody dies bloody. It's a great game. The other games are things like use this pitchfork to throw the flaming wad of sheep's dung and hay over the fence and set their shit on fire.
And that's a morale. That'll do something to morale.
And of course, my children all competed in the kids' versions of those games. Michael did a fair job of tossing a caber. Vera did a fair job of tossing a nearly legitimate full-size caber.
Vera could be a full-size caber. Well, since you didn't ask, I'll just go ahead and tell you my weekend was great. Georgia won.
Clearly, you need to talk about some stuff.
Well, there's actually not a lot to talk about. Georgia won. Let's see. And I know this doesn't affect you, but if you are a fan of college football, Tennessee flipped over Alabama's table in a bad
what I
way.
heard. In fact, I heard Viva Barnes talking about that.
Yeah, it was that. Like, it was woo. Like, it was literally one of the greatest football games that will be played this year, and we're not even halfway through the college season. Like, it was that intense. And the fact that Tennessee came out on top was impressive. Humor is a wonderful way to avoid account. I am going to address the one thing, and then I do want to get to the stuffs. It says, careful humor is a wonderful way to avoid accountability for handling cognitive dissonance, picking bad policies, and working to use violence to defend the action.
Oh, okay. So Messer's a big MAGA Trump supporter, because clearly he's against cognitive dissonance and using violence in politics. And bad
let me
policies.
Finish.
Okay.
I was just going to say that humor is also a fantastic way of telling people uncomfortable truths they don't want to hear. It's why the jester was allowed to make fun of the king. That's all I was going to say. And here's the thing. I'll continue to use humor, and I'll continue to allow anybody to say that we use humor, because typically it's the left that has problems memeing, not the right. Not that the right doesn't have some absolutely cringe-inducing memes. Don't misunderstand. But as far as things that actually get shared and go viral, how often do you see things from the right that give you a genuine chuckle versus how often do you see things from the left that give you a genuine chuckle?
I'm glad you asked. Let's, I've got a great example.
So anyhow, but we're 10 minutes in, and Walker and Warnock, and it's gonna look, y'all, we're doing this in two parts because there were so many things that happened in this debate that were so illustrative. Okay, it not just illustrative of what's happening in Georgia, but there's actually a lot going on here in this debate that I think you could kind of use to paint the entire body politic, the zeitgeist in America. Obviously we think Walker won. Okay. But Warnock, very well spoken, very well polished.
Yes.
Didn't stumble over his words. All of his subjects and predicates agreed. And, there was at no point in time did he sound like maybe he was doing an Amos and Andy skit or like the stereotypical Southern black man or any of those things. Okay. Warnock sounded perfect. Walker sounded like a normal dude who prepped for this debate. Speaking extemporaneously is extremely difficult. Okay, Chris and I have been practicing doing that for years, and we've got one another to fall back on. Okay, if I lose my train of thought, Chris can pick it up.
Okay, so this is funny. So Mezer, who apparently thinks that we're only on Twitch and is unaware of, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and the whole host of other platforms that we're streaming on, it says, it's okay, no one's watching. We have 2 watchers. Oh, yeah, we have 2 watchers on Twitch. What did I say? I already said it. We don't pay much attention to the Twitch situation. Most of our viewers are watching on Facebook and Twitter, quite a few on Rumble. That's how we roll. But
or YouTube. You don't like there's the obvious one. But
yeah, YouTube is obviously our big draw. Okay, so going into this debate, there's a couple of things. Walker is, like you said, he sounds like a normal dude. He's not polished. He's not a great orator. A lot of whisker words, a lot of pauses, but he is.
Well, he's
going
genuine.
into this. People thought he wasn't that bright.
Well, what people thought was that this was going to be a bloodbath. That you've got Reverend Raphael Warnock, who's been a pastor of a church for years, so he's had a lot of high pressure practice in practicing extemporaneous speaking.
Yeah.
Plus, he's been in the Senate for a couple of years, so Walker basically had no chance whatsoever. Was the narrative. But there's a really broad point that I would like to make, and then let's actually do this, unless you have something else you want to add for flavor. Okay, so my whole life, politicians have sounded great. They sound amazing. They can talk, and they can do words, and they can do them good, and they sound pretty, and and then the vast majority of those politicians suck. They suck. Barack Obama was a fantastic orator while he was on prompter.
Yeah.
And at best, he was a mediocre president. Did not get us out of Afghanistan, did not get us out of Iraq despite promising. I mean, that was the big draw. How many Republicans crossed the aisle to vote for Barack Obama in 2008 because they thought Barack Obama was the guy that would end the wars, and then Barack Obama didn't end the wars. And then we had like 8 straight years of like 1 to 2% GDP growth and all the other wonderful things that came with Barack Obama. But boy, he could speak good, and so could Mitt Romney.
That boy had a pretty mouth.
Yeah, that's what he had. And so could Mitt Romney. Hell, Mitt Romney can still speak good. A good bit of it's bullshit, but he makes it sound good. And the same thing with Warnock. So before you come at me and say, oh, Walker talks like a moron. No, Walker talks probably how the majority of you out there watching talk, the majority of the people in your life talk. And maybe they don't have quite as much colorful colloquialism to their speech as Walker. But he talks like a normal guy. And you know what? At this point, give me the guy that wears his heart on his sleeve and trips over his words versus the guy where you can never be 100% sure if he actually believes the things that he's saying, but he says them words much more gooder.
He sure do. Hey, we got Diamond Dave just joined us on Rumble too. Good to see you this morning, Dave. Let's go ahead and get into this.
Let's do
We
this.
turn now to the topic of abortion. We're going to start with you, Mr. Walker. A week before this debate, a former girlfriend made public accusations saying you paid for an abortion and that you encouraged her to have another. In an ABC News interview this week, you said that the accusations are, quote, all lies.
Okay.
Let him answer.
No, hold on a second. Because because he said the accusations are, quote, all lies, and he's gonna stick to those guns. But I want to make something clear real quick. There is evidence that exists that these abortions occurred. There's apparently a receipt for payment on the abortions and a handwritten check from Herschel Walker. But it's also important to remember that all of this evidence is being produced by the same guys that gave you the Pissgate scandal and the Russiagate scandal and the Steele dossier. Just to be clear, we're talking about an organization that is not only not above fabricating evidence without cause or even origin, but has made a habit of it. That's the Daily Beast.
Oh, not the Daily Beast.
Yeah, so.
For the voters watching tonight, can you explain the circumstances surrounding these claims? You have 60 seconds.
Well, as I said, that's a lie. And, most thing I put it in a book. One thing about my life is I've been very transparent. Not like the senator. He's hid things. But at the same time, I said that's a lie. And on abortion, I'm a Christian. I believe in life. And I tell people this, Georgia is a state that respects life, and I'll be a senator that protects life. And I said that was a lie, and I'm not backing down. And we have Senator Warnock, people that would do anything and say anything for this seat, but I'm not going to back down because this seat is too important to the Georgia people for me to back down right now.
You've been vocally pro-life, supporting a ban on abortions without exceptions. Would you support a complete ban on a national level?
Well, first of all, see, that's not true either. I said I support the heartbeat bill. And I say I support the Georgia heartbeat bill because that's the bill of the people from Governor Kemp. And I said that has exceptions in it. I said I'm a Christian, but I'm also representing the people of Georgia, and that's who I represent. So what the people of Georgia stand for, I'm going to stand with them.
See, I have a pause button too.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good.
Well, I just saw you moving your hand, and I was like,
yeah.
Chow! So, first things first, and I don't think we need to spend too much time on it, but that's the first broader lie. Things get more specific between Raphael and Herschel here. But even the heartbeat bill here in Georgia, which is one of the more restrictive abortion laws in the country,
yep.
Make no mistake about it, okay?
It's still insufficient.
That's the... You don't have to derail every point I'm trying to make. Okay, so, but even the heartbeat bill, which is one of the more restrictive points in the entire country, still has exceptions for, the life of the mother, for example. They always come back and be like, well, what about the life of the mother? Well, what about rape? What about incest? You know what? Okay, sure. Well, according to Planned Parenthood's own numbers, that's 6% of the abortions. So sure, we'll make an exception for the 6%. And the other 94%, you can shut the fuck up about because nobody, But as Walker points out, like the Georgia bill does have exceptions for that. So, I mean, that's the lie starts off in the premise of the question.
Right.
As though somehow
they're accusing Walker of having said no exceptions for anything.
Yeah, so and that's of course what they would have you believe is that, gosh, we're just a couple of steps away from the Handmaid's Tale, and like, dude, even if your sister or your wife was gonna die from having a baby, you would still force her to have that baby even if she died, and all this ridiculous like stuff.
And if there were cases in which the abortion of a child were the thing that could save a woman's life, I might actually consider that a little more aggressively. But the fact of the matter is, in the case of a distressed pregnancy, the woman's life is at risk. It is the removal of the baby from the woman that is the life-saving measure. The murder of the child before it is removed is an additional high-risk procedure. There has never been a woman whose life was saved by killing the child. Now, that is not the same as saying there have not been cases where the child being removed, being delivered, caused the death of the child. But medically, it is false to claim that introducing the additional high-risk procedure of killing the child is a way to save a woman's life. The life of the mother exceptions are a lie. The rape and incest situation, that's a question of morality, not physicality. So it's a very different question. Okay, so, you ready?
Oh yeah, let's do this.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Senator Warnock, you've said repeatedly that the exam room is too small for the patient, her doctor, and the U.S. government. We're asking you to take a clear position right now. Do you believe there should be any limitations on abortion set by the government? And you have 60 seconds.
I think that the women of this country and the women of this state woke up one summer morning and a core protection that they've known for 50 years.
You notice how he doesn't answer Walker did.
Right.
Answer the question.
He answered the question.
You know, I think women woke up, and he does this throughout a good bit of the debate, and that's one of the reasons why I hate all that pretty talk, because if you'll notice, people substitute a lot of that pretty talk for actually answering that. I'd rather you give me an ugly sounding but complete answer than a pretty sounding incomplete answer.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to that?
Nope.
Let's do it.
Was taken from them by an extremist Supreme Court. And I stand where I've said I stand in the past.
Okay, now I have something. A right was taken away from women by an extremist Supreme Court. Extremist.
Alex, we're getting there, dude.
You're half of the Supreme Court. You pedo-shield shitburger. Your half of the Supreme Court is gun control absolutism. Not only certain people should be able to have guns, but the position of your half of the Supreme Court, right, you radical psychopath, is that there is no individual right to keep and bear arms found in the Constitution. But there is somehow a constitutional right to terminate, to kill babies. And when I say to kill babies, let me be very clear. We're not just talking about late-term abortion here. The position of your entire party is that a woman should be able to execute the child after it's born for no reason more than it is more convenient not to have it. That is your position. It is your position because it is the position of the party. And as you're going to hear as we go forward, he's not going to commit to the position. He's going to use this pretty language to suggest,
but commit to nothing,
that he will commit to whatever position the lowest common denominator will vote for, but he'll never actually commit to it.
The room is too narrow and small and cramped a space for a woman, her doctor, and the United States government. We are witnessing right now what happens when politicians, most of them men, pile into patients.
By the way, that's also a lie. There are plenty of pro-life women, by the by.
And just before you hit that button again, it was all men that codified Roe v. Wade to begin with.
Whoops.
Rooms. You get what you're seeing right now. And the women of Georgia deserves a senator who will stand with them. I trust women more than I trust politicians.
May I respond?
Very quick.
No, let him respond. Let him respond.
Believe all women. Believe all women.
Except for the ones that say you ran over their foot.
Right.
Or the ones that say you ran away from the process server when you tried to increase their child support? Or what about the women that say they're being evicted by your church from Section 8 housing?
Or what about the women that say their little boys were abused in your summer camp? But no, believe the women.
Believe all women.
Mr. Walker.
You know, it is, and I heard about him. I heard he was a neat talker, but did he not mention that there was a baby in that room as well? And also, did he not mention that he asking the taxpayer to pay for it? So he's bringing the government back into the room. So,
and that, I think, was one of the most telling moments in the entire debate. Not just that he said, did he not mention that there is a baby in the room? Hey, fun fact, when you're trained as an OBGYN, one of the things they tell you is that if you have a pregnant patient, you in fact have 2 patients. And also, fun fact, most OBGYN doctors and nurses do not want to perform abortifacient procedures whatsoever. And of them that do, they will only perform it in situations of rape, incest, and life of the mother. It's actually a very small minority of that community that will perform these procedures. So there's that. But the end goal of the Democrat Party with regard to this issue is to continue to fund organizations like Planned Parenthood with federal dollars. Well, Planned Parenthood does abortions, okay? Money is fungible.
Yep.
Which means that is absolute taxation without representation. Part of the reason why the abortion debate is so fierce in this country is because of the way we look at taxes. And I don't want my tax dollars going to voluntary abortions. It just is what it is. And part of the reason why I don't want my tax dollars going to pay for abortions is because I don't want my tax dollars going toward medicine generally. If you give the government the ability to pay for medical procedures, you also give the government to dictate care. And I am fundamentally opposed to the federal government dictating standards of care. So the point that Herschel's making here, that you're bringing the government back in the room by having the government pay for it, I think that, well, I already said, it's one of the most important moments that happened in the debate, period. Because the government's in the room. Oh, okay. You don't want the government in the room to regulate it and say that it's safe and unsafe to do it in these time frames, or that it is acceptable and unacceptable to do it in these time frames. You don't want the government in the room for that. But the second somebody's got to pay for it, now you want the government in the room. And hey, according to the left, who makes most of the money? Who makes like $1 for every 83 cents a woman makes? Well, that's men. So you're cool with men paying for it. You're cool with the government paying for it. You're cool with it being mostly men. Just, you know, shut up and leave me alone and let me decide what I'm going to do with your baby. That, by the way, you will pay for if I decide to have, even if you think I should have an abortion.
Yeah.
So there's all that.
Yeah, you're not having my baby.
You, sir, are correct.
And Alex, thanks for straightening out shithead there. He was talking about you could write in your vote. Yeah, look, let me know how that works out for you, since you clearly don't understand how the system works.
Look, Double Z, we really appreciate all your interaction. We can't respond to all of your many comments because we're actually trying to get through what we think are the important parts of this. And yeah, like, nope, I'm okay with
and no, hey,
I'm okay with being
Z, you're absolutely right. I mean, you're right.
You're
100% right. Right. Your life has been wasted. And I wish you luck in fixing that in the future. You know, go forward and prosper.
So he's not talking about that.
Right.
So when he mentioned that, it's like I've not seen too many pastors that would say that statement.
Mr. Warnock, I'll give you a chance to rebut.
I am a pastor. I'm a man of faith.
Oh boy.
And I have a profound reverence for life.
He just
and
walks
a deep
into it.
respect for choice. And because I have such a profound reverence for life, it's one of the reasons why I've stood up to address this issue of maternal mortality in our country. We lead all of the Western nations on that front, and black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die even when they have the insurance and the income. Now that's something government could actually do something about. And I joined with Marco Rubio of Florida to pass a bill to address maternal mortality. The women of Georgia have a clear choice as we're watching women die. Do you want a senator who wants to control your life, or do you want a senator who wants to save your life?
Well,
I want to save your life.
Well, what's funny,
We need
man,
to keep moving, Mr. Walker.
I have to respond to this.
Very quickly.
Because he told me Black Lives Matter. And if you think about it, Senator, in Atlanta, Georgia, there's more black baby that is aborted than anything. So if Black Lives Matter, why are you not protecting those babies? And instead of aborting those babies, why are you not baptizing those babies?
Mr. Warnock, or Senator Warnock, will give you a chance to respond to that.
Well, you could tell even
I
in the
think
wide
women
shot, he's
of
like,
Georgia have a clear choice. He says no exceptions.
no, he
Even in the
doesn't.
case of rape, incest, or the life of the mother. I think that's extreme, is out of touch with Georgia, and I intend to do the work that senators can do.
See, he didn't
Mr.
read
Walker,
the,
we've got to move
heartbeat
forward.
bill, though. Wait, he didn't
We've
read
got
the
to move
heartbeat
forward, Mr.
bill.
Walker.
That there is exceptions for that in the heartbeat bill. So when he
All
made
right, I'm going to
a
ask you to
statement that
respect
is
Mr.
untrue,
Walker that we need to
and I
move
do
on, okay?
respect
We've
that.
got to...
Okay, and this isn't the only time they do this to Herschel throughout the debate. We'll talk about it more tomorrow when he pulls out his badge. As you can see, they let Warnock not only respond, but stand there and state absolute falsifiable positions. He said that Herschel supports no exceptions. Not only has he not said that, but just a minute ago in this same debate, Herschel went so far as to say, I stand for the heartbeat bill, which contains these exceptions, because that's what my constituents want. Because that is the bill that Georgia is interested in.
I mean, let's be crystal clear. We're talking about a bill that has well over 50% popular support in state. We are talking about a bill that Brian Kemp, when he ran for governor almost 4 years ago, said that he'd be more than willing to sign, even if it pissed off the cottage Hollywood industry that we've got going on in the metro Atlanta area. So it's not a surprise that this happened, okay? Nobody was shocked, okay? And we all still voted the way that we voted anyway. It's almost like if you're going to represent Georgia, having a partial ban on abortion is what the citizens of Georgia want you to have. It's almost like that's exactly what they want you to have. I mean, I'm just saying, okay, but I did that to myself. I absolutely did that to myself. I was so busy with the rhetorical floor. I was going to say something about how he continues to lie. I was going to say something about how Warnock continues to lie, because that's all he's got. Honestly, one of the big things, and this goes back to the point that I was making at the beginning of the show about how Walker comes across as genuine and Warnock comes across as extremely fake, but polished, very well polished, okay? Guys like Warnock cannot tell you the truth. Warnock can't tell you that if he were to even take a poll of his own members of his church, there's probably a big chunk of them that disagree with the official position he takes on this issue. And he might believe in his heart of hearts that he's actually not comfortable with abortion as defined by the Democrat Party. In fact, there's a good chance that he's not comfortable with abortion as defined by the Democrat Party. But he can't tell the truth to the left. He certainly can't tell the truth to the right. Nope. They can't see you shake your head if you've just got the camera on me. but he can't tell the truth. And so many people like him, the left, professional politicians, whatever, if they told you the truth, you wouldn't vote for him. You couldn't vote for him.
Right.
And that's why he has to dance around this. And that's why he's got to cast aspersions against Herschel Walker's character. I mean, again, you are just not going to find many pro-lifers, even extremely far-right pro-lifers, that want zero exception abortion restriction. It's just not a thing that exists. It is a boogeyman. They have to lie to you about, we'll see you in November, the blue wave is coming. Yeah, we'll see you in November. Well, I'm going to remember you said that, okay? I'm going to remember you said that.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, Pepperidge Farm remembers, but they have to lie to you about their positions, otherwise they can't win. If they told you the truth, they would always lose. Always. And the truth is, tops, you're going to find 20% of pro-lifers that want no exceptions to abortion. Tops.
Okay. Mezzer, you finally said something that's worth addressing. I don't care if Walker is a leader. I don't care if Warnock is a leader. Neither of these men should be leaders. Their job is not leadership. Their job is the representation of the will of the state. Okay? One of the biggest mistakes we ever made was taking on a situation where, was this 20? No, it was the 19th. No.
Oh,
19th Amendment?
I think it was the 16th Amendment.
16th
that
Amendment.
was the direct election of senators.
The direct election of senators. Because what was supposed to happen, the way it was designed, the way the founders put it together, is the people had the House of Representatives to represent them. And the states had the Senate to represent the state governments. Because the federal government is not a singular sovereign entity. It is a coordination of distinct and separate sovereign entities.
It's a quilt.
Attempting to work together harmoniously and peacefully without active conflict between them.
Yeah, it's a quilt.
Yeah. It's the Senate should be viewed as the stitches of those squares. And then we gutted that. That was a mistake. But as far as the question of whether or not they can lead, Mezzer, if you think that what you're looking for is a leader when you're electing a senator, then you don't have any understanding of what politic and government is. You keep dropping shit in here like, well, let's not confuse politics and philosophy. You can't confuse politics with philosophy unless you fail to understand that politic is philosophy.
He said religion, but I think you're...
No, he also said politic and philosophy. But he did both. But
well, fair enough.
Philosophy and religion are also the same thing. They're not different things. But but the question that I'm talking about there is the question of leadership. These men will not be employed to lead shit. Their job is to represent and fight for the will of the people in an adversarial process where the wants and needs of the distinct and disparate states are not constantly aligned with one another. And so the job of your representative is to negotiate on your behalf to achieve the correct, the best deal that can be achieved. There's an old piece of kind of, it's treated like common wisdom that compromise is when everybody walks away unhappy, and that is incorrect. A negotiation well-formed leaves everybody walking away better.
Yeah, that's a...
And a negotiation that doesn't do that has failed to account for all of the resources and value that are on the table for the course of the negotiation. You're buying a house, for example. You walk in, we're not just talking about you have a house and I have some money, and let's figure out how much of my money I can keep you from taking for the house. Well, you have a house that may need work, right? Or you may need help moving out of the house. There are 1,000 little details that you can sort through, and you can help each other back and forth to come to a good deal. Measure, you think the word leadership is meaningful in the case of a Senate race. We're not talking about the gubernatorial race here. That would be a different conversation, right? But your gross dearth of education is complicating the conversation when you're going to sit here and troll and you don't have the intellectual capacity to actually engage on meaningful topics or meaningful criticisms. If you were more intelligent, if you were more skilled and informed on the subject matter, then you could present me with something interesting enough to engage, and then you would have a much better time pulling me off of the topic. So go home, read some books, maybe go to college for a little while, maybe study something meaningful and useful.
Don't go to college.
And then come back when you're better armed. Come back and have a conversation when you're armed to engage. And
maybe we should turn on the phone line. I mean, not now because it's after 8 o'clock, but maybe we should turn on the phone line.
Okay, so it's after 8 o'clock. We've only gotten through the abortion segment.
Well, but then tomorrow we've got the others.
Right. I'm going to have to get going because I get to Douglasville now. But we were already planning on doing 2 segments out of this. So we're going to be covering this tomorrow for Take It to Him Tuesday as well. So what do you say we go ahead and stretch it to 3 segments, and on Wednesday we'll try to keep it to about half the show,
and then
on
take
this,
calls.
and then open up the phone.
That's not a bad idea. So woke went. God, so we're gonna go woke on Wednesday. Alex says this is precisely why I don't put chat on screen. I can't get dragged into some moron's rabbit hole. Yeah.
So we're going to put a pin in it there.
Well, let me just say,
thoughts.
here's the thing about making a deal, both in the private sector with regard to this debate and everything that has happened in our chat today. I can tie it all together. You can always tell when somebody's had sales training and when somebody has not, okay? Because in sales, one of the things that they teach you in sales is what the definition of a good deal is. And it's highly subjective. And the definition of a good deal is when everybody's satisfied with the outcome. You might feel like paying me $1,000 for a pencil is a good deal. I don't need to know what your reasons are for thinking that that's a good deal, but you might think that it is. So when we go do all this back and forth about what the founders would have intended, I've noticed that when people come in and say, well, this is not what the founders would have intended. Okay, cool. Well, let's go back to what they would have intended. No more directly electing your senators at all. By the way, you have to own property in order to vote. And let's strike every single Second Amendment violating law from the books. Fair? Fair? Can we do that? Oh, no, you don't want to do that. And now you want to say, well, it's actually about leadership. Why? Because that's the words that they use. They also claim to be moral authorities.
Yeah. Oh,
those are the words they use.
And ladies and gentlemen, let me offer you one important piece of advice. If you want to live a good and happy life, choose your wife carefully.
Thank you.
So, all right, that's all we've got. I mean, we appreciate you bringing the coffee down, babe, but we were just about to button it up. And so
we'll be back tomorrow. Yep.
Tomorrow we're going to come back and cover
the police badge and the
badge. And Measure, please, I mean, if you can get through silent sites and a little Kierkegaard, maybe you need to take a peek at some turtle stacking. That might help your your cognitive capacity a little bit, please do. And come back and join us tomorrow morning. We love you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.